When did you realize you were depressed? When I found everything boring and just thought negative thoughts every day. For instance, the majority of my thoughts throughout the day are negative. Whether it's something embarrassing that happened to me that made me sad, or being fearful about terrible things that are gonna happen in the future. I originally thought this was typical teenager thoughts, but when I hang out with my friends and we all watch funny videos and I just find them meh, while all my friends laugh, it just felt weird. A lot of people like to joke or make light of having depression as some kind of comedy thing, and I understand, but it's really not something that you want to experience, ever. When listening to music became difficult, I can relate. I listened to music like a religion, almost any type of music, and was a music student in university. Finished 5 years ago, started sinking emotionally and realized I stopped listening to music recreationally, partially because everything reminded me of something and partially because I was realizing that I was probably never going into music professionally, like I had always dreamed. It was mainly the loss of my passion for music that I realized I was depressed. I'm working on it, though. Simple things like eating became a hassle annoyance. I can relate. I went from being ultra sociable to not bothering eating, not being able to fall asleep, becoming increasingly irritable and angry to a point where it almost resulted in violence on one specific occasion. My social battery was empty for weeks, and I was super lethargic for a good while. Also went down 8 kilograms in 2 months, which was bad. Things have turned around though, and I'm more or less back to normal. Went to college and realized what was supposed to be a life-changing experience that would make life worth living was all a lie. Didn't make a single friend and barely spoke a word for over a year. Cried in my bathroom every single night. Then I was diagnosed with general anxiety, social anxiety, and clinical depression. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make one friend. Having a girlfriend was definitely never gonna happen, so why even try? No one even knew I existed, and at some point even I was starting to believe that I didn't exist. I made good grades, but the tuition was way too high and I couldn't get a loan, so I ended up having to leave after less than 2 years. I don't miss college one bit. I used to imagine college being the time of my life, having friends and a girlfriend, having fun and accomplishing my dreams. But nope. Nothing but social torture every single day and not a single soul that cared. The worst part is, due to the nature of my school, almost every student there and I had something in common, and yet that didn't matter because I'm an outcast even among people like me. Even thinking about school makes me shake. I experienced something similar, but your case is way extreme. Hope this helps. Find something you are good at: studying, gym, dance, music, writing, any fucking thing. If you don't find something, keep looking. It could be something as mundane as cycling. You need not be the best or a pro in this activity. You should just be able to do it with relatively less effort. Relatively less effort is very important. This will ensure that it's easier for you to do it and stick to it. Once you build a habit of doing this activity, start pushing your limits. Keep pushing till you reach a point where you are above average. Then find people who have similar interests and join them. Doesn't matter even if you are the lowest of the low in proficiency. Keep pushing till you are better than at least one person. With steady effort, rise in your group. Trust me, this will help. I knew a kid who started with trying to do a handstand, and by end of the year he could do a backflip. Your chosen activity could be very basic, but everyone will be awed if you are too good at it. Countless people post videos shooting basketball without looking at the basket. There's nothing extraordinary in shooting a basketball, but they have reached a level where it's difficult for an average Joe to be. This will help with your self-confidence and social circle. You may still remain an introvert, shy person, but you'll have a circle of friends you love hanging out with. There are 9 criteria, out of which you need to show 5 consistently for at least 2 weeks to be officially considered depressed. 1. Showing a depressed mood most of the day, nearly every day. 2. Diminished interest or pleasure in all, or nearly all, activities most of the day, nearly every day. 3. Significant weight loss or gain with an increased or decreased appetite nearly every day. 4. Insomnia or hypersomnia nearly every day. 5. Psychomotor agitation or retardation nearly every day. 6. fatigue or loss of energy nearly every day. 7. Feelings of worthlessness or excessive or inappropriate guilt. 8. Diminished ability to think or concentrate, or indecisiveness, nearly every day. 9. Recurrent thoughts of death, suicidal ideation without specific plan or a suicide attempt or a specific plan for committing suicide. I couldn't stop feeling sad. I was completely losing interest in activities I enjoyed at the time. Track, basketball, school. My appetite was lowering. I was isolating myself. I cried multiple times a day, and I often felt that I wasn't good enough. I only realize how bad it truly was in hindsight because of how normal that just became. When I was 12 and I realized I didn't like to do what the other kids were doing. That I was lonely even though there were people around me. I wasn't laughing at jokes 12-year-olds should find hilarious. I was struggling to be happy. In a general sense, there were many times I realized I was sad, or had a moment of depression. Clinically, it was about 6 years ago. I was on my summer break from my second year of teaching. My daughter was maybe 8-9 months old, so I was home with her while my now ex was working. I was trying to get her to rest, but it wasn't working and she was crying in my ear as I tried to console her. My affect had gone to a point of pure indifference, but I was losing it inside. It was in this moment that I realized I had been thinking of taking my own life. I'd been having similar thoughts for several weeks, had had them at different moments growing up, but this had turned into a regular thing. Never had a plan to do it, but just this constant thought of I'd be better off dead. Realizing I had gotten to this point, I got scared. As soon as my daughter fell asleep, I hopped online and looked for a counselor. Many ups and downs over the years. I even had gotten to a point where the suicidal thoughts started turning into planned actions. Counseling and some doctor prescribed medication helped. It's certainly not something I can turn off or cure, as I'm sure many experience or realize themselves. And, to be clear, it was not because of my daughter that I felt depressed. My depression usually manifests itself in blaming myself for being unable to provide for others or do things any responsible adult can or should do. My daughter is actually the reason I chose to work to get better. Even at my lowest point where the suicidal thoughts became scary and I almost acted on them, what's turned me around was wanting to get better for my daughter. I was maybe 16 and my doctor sat me down to talk about his observations since he had known me since birth and saw I stuck out among the 5 kids in my family. The part I remember was him asking me to tell him about something that made me feel happy, and it took me a very long time to answer. He gave me a very useful understanding on the sort of depression he saw in me, and it was great to know I wasn't just lazy. He also said something a bit negative about my mother, which was great to hear an adult recognizing some of my trouble had environmental influence too. When everything was perfect, I had a job, a healthy marriage, a smart and healthy kid, and I still cried in the shower in the morning and wished I was dead. I removed every roadblock to happiness and still just felt like I was a waste of human existence. I had a difficult, tearful conversation with my husband. I felt badly because I hid it so well. He was blindsided. He was also hurt, wondering what he had done wrong. I went to the doctor, got medicine. I'm great now. How are you? Several years ago, when I realized I'd cried every single day for the 2.5 years since my cat had died, that had just seemed reasonable at the time. I wasn't only crying about the cat, I was crying about anything or everything. I made an appointment with a doctor and went on an SSRI, and it has been a godsend. I feel like me again. I had the most amazing trip ever for my 18th birthday high school graduation. Just me and my mom, it was the perfect trip. However, I discovered on this trip I had depression. I was so happy to be there, but my body just wouldn't let me be. I felt tired and empty. It was so amazing. I was trying so hard to have fun, but I just couldn't. My life was absolutely at its peak at this point, but I just felt sad and empty. I remember crying and telling my mom I just do not know why I was feeling this way. I came home and it continued. I was later diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. I take medication and it's under control and a lot better now. But that was a tough thing to discover and feel. Well, it's always just been one half of the equation for me. I never thought anything of it during my teen years, summing it up as hormones like many of us probably did. When I hit my mid-20s and noticed it was becoming significantly worse after a few attempts, the other half making me much more reckless and impulsive, plus an ex bringing up the extreme fluctuations, I finally spoke to a psychiatrist about what was going on. I didn't just have depression, I had manic depression. Color me shocked. Haha. By going to the dentist, having 3 people talk about how bad your teeth are as if you don't exist can take your mind to new lows. I went home shortly after that, started drinking, realized I forgot to do the one thing my wife asked me to do, started thinking to myself that I'm a piece of shit, turn on Madden in order to quell the negativity, join a group chat with my 13-year brother, start talking about killing myself. Mother gets on the mic, which was a speaker so she hears everything. She tells me to get off the game. Wife comes home after having a long chat with my mother about my behavior, then make a doctor's appointment to diagnose me. When I really don't care about anything anymore and I cannot make myself do anything, like I can sit in the same spot on my bed in silence without getting up for hours and my back is killing me because it's so uncomfortable, but I still can't move. Also, when I couldn't remember what it felt like to not feel like crying and being tired all the time for no legitimate reason, like every day feels like I just need to cry and take a long nap and I will wake up better but never feel better, and then weeks have gone by. Seeing those who were an idol to me growing up feel unhappy and worthless. Feeling like no matter what happens to me or what I change with my life I won't be happy. Feeling unmotivated to reach any sort of goals, because even if I accomplish them I feel empty inside. I got a 4.0 in college, started my own charity, I've helped numerous people with personal trauma, I've achieved a pretty good V-shaped figure after lots of bodybuilding training. I play lead trumpet in a pretty good jazz band after years of practice. I've been the captain of a champion IM basketball team. I've had numerous jobs, opportunities and goals. No matter what I've accomplished I still feel empty inside, and worthless to the world and ultimately alone. I've had girlfriends but never really felt a real connection to any of them and never really have able to have a true intimate experience. I laugh and smile on the outside and joke about everything to get those around me to like me, and lots of people say they enjoy spending time with me, but at the end of the day I come home wondering what I can do to feel happy. No matter what goals or aspirations I accomplish I just feel like I won't be happy. My only escape is through weed and alcohol to help me forget about my life. I keep on telling everybody I don't know what to do and what more I can try and do for the world to help me find worth in my life, and they all told me that nobody that understands the world is truly happy and you just have to try and find small victories, but ultimately it just makes everything feel more pointless and depressing. I've been to psychologists and they never have been able to find an answer for me, and I'm worried I'm just going to live out my life never being at peace with myself. I had a severe depression in the spring of 2012. In the 3 years prior I had 6 people I loved die, in horrible tragic ways, my mother and favorite brother included. I had a homicidal depression. I wanted to hurt people. I was angry and hateful. And right before the end of that freshman year of college, I realized I needed to change. After that 1 year of college, I dropped out. I moved into a friend's place in the mountains. I got rid of my phone and deactivated all internet account. I went off grid for the first time. I spent 8 months practicing meditation and studying brain chemistry and psychology. I experimented with mushrooms and MDMA. These helped in overcoming depression, and I cured myself. I haven't had depression since. Freshman year of high school, I didn't have my best friend with me. I started to question my existence and purpose on this earth. I was really starting to become interested in girls, but I was realizing I wasn't what they were attracted to. So in turn, that's when my immense insecurities started to fester. I think I've mentioned this before on a similar post, but when I realized that all of my hobbies and things I enjoyed lost their luster, video games, hanging out, watching TV, drawing etc. I truly have nothing that I thoroughly enjoy doing anymore aside from sleeping, podcasts to get me through work, or the monthly LSD trips. That's pretty much it. But I feel neutral about it. If I regained interest in things I used to like again, then cool. If not, that's alright too. However, I'll go through phases where I find something that I get stuck on finding everything I can about. Recently it has been the murder of Sister Cessnick, and once I reach a point where I feel I've learned all that's to be learned, I drop it and never look into it again.